this thing on?
We're talking about practice, man.
Yeah, I work with my hands. It's a misdemeanor in 27 states.
You gotta be comfortable with your co-host in this amount of space.
Yeah, I can see me and you.
This guy runs a state.
You get that through your head?
You just got hashtag content.
You know, technology and stuff.
Open your grill. It's stuck in your teeth.
Now I have to mark them so I don't get the lick mic.
You're not really that stupid, are you?
Quavos.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
We'd have a lot of editing this time.
The ceiling is the roof. Let's make it happen.
Nobody sells hope like the Buffalo Bills. So why should 2017 be any different?
Andy Young of Spectrum News was in the building for the post-trade presser. He breaks down what was one of the most stunning days in Bills history.
Plus, the Wanamaker Trophy has a new home. Our golf guru, Marty Nowicki, breaks down the 99th PGA Championship.
And I love the 90s. Simmer down, VH1. Ashleigh Carter's on to talk. Where are they now? 90s. TBT. Yeah.
To be determined, episode 24, previously recorded from the studio in Mom's basement.
We here.
At Sports by Bond, Steve Bond. With at Trabs Matt, at Scooty Minx, Matt Traybold.
At me.
Not his Twitter handle.
At you.
Also not my Twitter handle. Although I wonder if that's available.
Pretty sure it's not.
Just out of curiosity. How are we on this fine Sunday night at Trabs Matt?
You know what? I'm peachy.
As you should be. We're set to talk PGA Championship. We're set to talk Bills trade with Andy Young, as you mentioned. PGA talk with our golf guru, Marty Nowicki.
You know what? I did mention that.
And where are they now? 90s edition. Onto the 90s draft, if you will. We're real excited about this little mini-series. I guess you could call it that, right?
Spin-off.
Something
Sequel.
like that. Sitcom, not really.
I don't think any of those three is accurate, but they are words.
A big week in upstate New York sports we'll get to. But the first piece of news is a sad, tragic national piece of news. We'd be remiss if we did not mention the events that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia, just this past weekend. We're a sports show. We don't dive into politics. We rarely touch, even scratch the surface of anything remotely political. We just don't do it. It's not our area. We stick to, ironically enough, the phrase stick to sports. We typically do. We don't venture out too often.
Or entertainment or pop culture, but yeah, our things.
We will venture into pop culture and entertainment and whatnot because, for the most part, those are societal, what's the best way to put it? They're things that society, for the most part, can agree on.
Yeah.
Right? Politics is certainly not that, and certainly in 2017 we're anything but in the area where everyone agrees. And that's how we end up with the events that happened down in Charlottesville, Virginia. So, first and foremost, thoughts and prayers, genuinely, thoughts and prayers to anyone hurt in that tragedy. We have these crazy events in America. We have these crazy events in our little towns. They happen all over the world. And you'd almost feel like at this point we'd be numb to them, but we're not. Each time it stings a little bit more. And I think that's a good thing, that we're not numb to terrorism, because that's in essence what we had. It was terrorism. It was domestic terrorism. The reason I bring up Charlottesville is because I have family down there, unharmed in the events, thank goodness. But it's a college town. It's a town that over the past few years, and this is recent history, has embraced their, in recent years, I should say, has embraced their history. And it always hasn't been the best history in that town. It's a southern state. It's a southern town. Virginia has flip-flopped back and forth in presidential elections between red and blue. But this little town in Charlottesville is very progressive thinking. Part of that is because there's a university there. But because it's such a progressive thinking town, they've encountered some hate groups. The latest were these white supremacists and Nazis. But before them, it was the KKK that was there. So they're the idea of these radical groups coming in and protesting and creating chaos and ultimately tragedy and terrorism here is nothing new to this town. They've had things like this happen before. The events, however, that occurred this past weekend should sicken anyone, regardless of who you voted for in this past election, whether it be Hillary, whether it be Donald. It should sicken you. It sickens me. And that's kind of why we're going down this path a little bit, is that I'm disgusted at what happened. This 20-year-old kid runs his car into a group of protesters, kills one and injures, I think it was 9. I'm trying to get the...
19?
Was it 19?
I feel like it was 19.
Okay, it was some crazy amount of people that got injured. We try to question things on this show. We try to determine things. That's the idea behind To Be Determined. The question I had for this was, these white supremacists think that their rights, something has been taken away from them, that they have been disenfranchised in some way. Which rights exactly were taken away from this 20-year-old kid, again, born in 97, I'm assuming here, that he thought, hey, you know what, the best idea is for me to drive my car into this crowd of people. Which rights exactly, from a kid that was born in 97, has he lost over the past 20 years? Because I'm a 30-year-old white guy, and I don't recall ever losing any rights over the past 30 years, which by my simple brain and simple math is 10 more years longer than this kid. I'm refusing to say his name. We're not doing that. We're not going down that path on this show, and I would hope that other shows would do the same. Little known fact about Charlottesville is that the Dave Matthews Band originated from there. They released a statement over the weekend, and I'm going to quote this in part, saying, "This is not the Charlottesville we know and love. This town has grown from its sometimes great but often difficult history and is marching towards an inclusive future. This murderous act and those who incited it are not what we aspire to be." Well said. Well said. Sports is a distraction, and oftentimes during tragedy, we turn to tough times. I think of 9/11, and you'll never forget those events. You'll never forget where you were. But I also remember watching the president, George Bush, throw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium. And whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, you're an American first. And we've forgotten that. We have certainly forgotten that as a country in 2017. But at that moment, we didn't forget. At that moment, we remembered we all fought for one team, that we're all under the same flag, that there's not another flag that we fly under, that no matter whether you're north, south, we're all under the stars and stripes, the red, white, and blue. That moment gave you chills in a good way. This moment gives you chills in a bad way. Yeah. The moments that happen in Charlottesville give you the chills in a bad way. The people of Charlottesville need a distraction right about now. They could use a good sporting event. Yeah. Unfortunately, it won't happen. College football won't return to Charlottesville for another 2-3 weeks. They've got, the home opener for the Wahoos is on September 2nd. And I said it can't come soon enough to forget the horrible reality of these tragic events.
And I couldn't agree more in terms of what sports could do for situations like this and this situation right here that we're dealing with as we speak. It's the biggest thing going on right now in America. And I don't really like talking about politics because, that's not really my wheelhouse. I'd much rather talk about sports, so this is my wheelhouse now. And I think, I've always been saying it, sports deserves, at least in our industry, and I think just kind of regardless of industry as well, deserves more respect because I think in comparison to news and other things, people flock more to sports. It's not put upon them.
The effect it can have in a positive way, for sure.
And it's definitely more positive, even if something negative happens within sports. The fact that you're in sports to begin with, in general, is, I think, a very positive thing. Because, like you said, it can be a distraction from the way more negative things. And not just talking about teams losing, maybe your team losing, but talking about more negative things in terms of people getting hurt, so on and so forth, maybe even worse than that.
I'm embarrassed for this country at times, and then I'm proud of other moments. And I don't care what political party you belong to. To me, no one should be able to accept white supremacists and Nazis. We forget what we fought for. There was a picture I saw during this entire event someone captured of one of the white supremacists holding up the Nazi symbol wearing a camouflage hat with the insignia or logo, I can't remember exactly what it was, of, I believe it was the 82nd Airborne Division, the division that fought against Hitler and the Nazis.
Oh, wow.
So, just the conundrum, and I don't mean to laugh, but that's how hysterical it is. I mean, that's how uninformed these people are, I should say, and not misinformed. This is how uninformed these people are that are out there protesting, that think they've lost some sort of right. It's amazing to me. It really is. I don't understand them. I never will admit to it. The one thing I did want to mention in I guess the final note of this, because I have dragged it on long enough, and again, we're a sports show, so I try not to do this. But kudos to the mayor of Charlottesville and to the governor of Virginia. Both great leaders in my mind. Both have stepped up and renounced these groups and told them not only to get away from Charlottesville and to go home, but further, to get out of the country, because they're not Americans. They're just not. You're not an American if you believe what these people believe.
It's wild stuff.
So, all right, we move on to a much, much lighter topic. That's heavy stuff. We try not to do it, so I appreciate you sticking with me through the 10, 11 minutes that we were able to do that, because it is heavy stuff. We move to significantly lighter events. We record the show on a Sunday in upstate New York from Mom's basement, and every Sunday, the executive producer at Sports by Mom typically makes us dinner. This week, we're doing another bathroom remodel, if you will. So, at Sports by Mom was exhausted Sunday night, so she did not make dinner. So, Matt and I were left to our own devices for dinner. So, we go, hey, let's go down to Panera Bread, not a sponsor.
Want to enjoy some nice chicken and wild rice soup?
Yeah, we just wanted to we both enjoyed some chicken and wild rice soup. Wanted to just get a sandwich and soup, come back, and continue to produce the show. And when we pull up, what a sight. Now, Matt, I just want to ask you a quick question. We're trying to determine something. Do you ever spend more than 30 minutes at a Panera?
Or any fast food establishment, for that matter?
Well, you know what?
Gosh, I hope not.
I don't know if that's fast food, but...
Oh, no, it's got to drive through.
It's not a sit-down order type place with a
Oh, yeah. It's not,
a wait staff and all that stuff. It's a order, go. I guess it could be considered fast food. It's fast-ish food, maybe. I don't know. Whatever. We're just semantics. The point being is that if you're ever going to sit down at one of these places for an exorbitant amount of time, you typically use the table and chairs they have there.
Yep.
Well, not this particular gentleman we saw tonight.
Oh, my God.
We pulled up. It's a nice night out in upstate New York. No rain, thank goodness. And what do we see? A guy reading a book. That's not out of the ordinary. What's out of the ordinary is that this gentleman decided to bring one of those fold-up lawn chairs and use his own chair to read this book. And then he went further. Now, I'm a coffee drinker, and I like hot coffee typically in the morning. This guy at night, when it was 78, 80 degrees outside, was drinking a hot cup of coffee. You just don't do these things. I mean, this is a bad look all around. So
you were driving, and you had some pretty good, we weren't parked yet, so you had some speed on you, going past them, and my, oh my, I almost manhandled you, oh my God. I know you're driving right now, but did you see this guy?
Yes.
And it stuck out like a sore thumb because it was a bright green. Yes. I think it was just kind of regular colored, more earth tones. I don't know. That's what the usual chair colors are at this place?
Yeah, if it was black, it would have blended in.
Bright.
But this, bright green. My man.
What are you doing?
We're not doing a get off my lawn moment, but that was probably it for the day.
What are you doing?
He literally needed to get off the lawn.
What are you doing?
I don't know. All right, let's move to the PGA Championship. We'll move to some actual sports stuff after about 14 and a half minutes of nonsense. Not nonsense. I shouldn't say that. That's bad. Of non-sports stuff is really what I should have said. PGA Championship. Justin Thomas winning his first major. He's the son and grandson of PGA professionals. This was Thomas's fourth win of the year. So is Thomas the golfer of the year?
And yes, the majors are done, but there's still a little bit of season left. So it's a matter of, if guys really rack up in lesser events, but there's still some pretty big events. The FedEx Championship is in there. So if they rack up a bunch more wins, that's one thing, but they're not going to have any more opportunity for a little bit of major love.
Yeah.
So going into this tournament, you had Hideki Matsuyama and this guy, Justin Thomas, both had 3 wins on the season. He got the 4 wins, so he's now leading in wins, and it's a major. And who would have thought
Yeah.
Who would have thought Justin Thomas?
I mean, that's a good resume for golfer of the year. I was going to say Hideki because he's leading it, and like you said, he got the 3 wins. I would
think
even
it's done after this week, though.
I would even throw Sergio in that mix, but that's more ceremonial, I guess, than anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's an interesting proposition. All right, so Quail Hollow, first time it's held a major championship, I believe. It's held other events, but first major. They changed the course. They redesigned the course. And one of the big things this week was the greens and just how difficult they were. I mean, I told you, Matt and I talked throughout the week, and we spoke Thursday, a little bit on Friday, and then again today. And the one thing I kept mentioning to Matt was I had not seen maybe more than 2 or 3 birdie putts throughout those 3 rounds.
So many coming up short or just rolling past.
They had to settle for par or settle for bogey.
And I was listening to Rory speak at some point over the last couple of days, and he said, my, oh my. I mean, we talked on Friday about the accolades at Quail Hollow over the PGA career so far of Rory McIlroy, and the list is long. And he said, this is a different Quail Hollow.
Yeah.
And he kept mentioning the fact that there's all these undulations in the green.
And that's the guy that has the course record, mind you.
So all these undulations. I mean, you can even see with the naked eye, which a lot of times you can't. Even in their graphics, when they're breaking down a hole before big golfers get there, they have to show where hills are because of, with arrows.
Yeah.
You could see with the naked eye that there were hills, like actual hills, maybe not full hills, but there were ridges all over these greens.
That's what makes Thomas's 8 under win that much more impressive. The fact that he was able to get to 8 under.
And have big putts down the stretch.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Putts.
Especially on 17. 17 was huge for him. Matsuyama, your boy, you picked him.
I
Close,
did.
But as I put here, he sort of crumbled down the stretch.
And gosh, so they have a cam inside the scorer's tent. And, I mean, obviously, you don't want to put too much on it because it's a very obvious emotion he would be having.
Yeah.
But just seeing the body language between the winner, who he was grouped with, and then him, who, God, just in the last couple holes lost a couple strokes.
Yeah.
And just the money you lose in that. And just the accolades, because he was so close to it for most of this weekend. And just had his hat kind of astrew off his head, had hands on his head. Just the body language. He was broken.
Spieth missing out on the career Grand Slam this year. Never really a factor. I think he'll get there, but PGAs are tough, man. It seems like there's, I hate to say no-namers, but it almost is, to a certain extent, that are winning the PGA year after year.
Well, geez, just look at this tournament. You had Thorbjorn Olsen after a couple days, was really big, didn't really have the longevity, but that's one of those smaller names. I mean, Kevin Kisner, this was his 12th major appearance, and even though he's top 25 in the FedEx standings, that's still a major deal. He's still fairly new in terms of majors. And then you had Chris Stroud. This is, I think, his first major appearance in 3 years. So the fact that these were the kind of names that were high up, it shows that at least this season, I should say, PGA Championship definitely had a lot of smaller names.
Craziest moment of the tournament for you?
Man, oh man. I want to say maybe something from the first stage, but I'm not going to reveal what it is just in case you go with it.
Okay.
But it's got to be John Rahm.
Okay.
And I'm on the drive here. I'm listening to Sirius PGA Tour radio, and I hear them freaking out about this shot on 18. So he puts it in the crick, and he claimed...
Near the crick, right? Wasn't it near the crick?
It was, it might have been right in the lip.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, not right in the crick, because then it would be...
But he didn't have...
It would be doing some creek riding.
Right, he'd have to drop. This was so close to the out of bounds and in the crick that he had no choice other than to make the shot that he did.
Yeah, so the shot that he did that you just mentioned, so he turns his back to the green, he goes backhand in order to get a good club head towards it, and just taps it, not even looking.
He's not even facing the hole. He's facing the complete opposite direction.
He wanted some good torque.
My goodness.
And he was recorded as saying afterwards, the better line would have been if I went through the legs, but that would just be ridiculous.
That would
something
be
along
more
those lines.
ridiculous,
yeah, okay, that's ridiculous. That's something you try on a mini golf course, or if you're like me and don't really care as much about the golf and you just care about the hydration. You're back nine after just a big old canister of Everclear Oni Palmy.
Okay, all right.
And you're just trying ridiculousness.
Easy now, killer. I think Rahm's the craziest of the day. I would have to agree with you there. The Jason Day 8.
That's the one I didn't want to reveal.
That's the one I think you were leaning towards. That could be as well.
It's poor clubs.
Oh, my God.
It's cracking clubs.
And then on the final day, Thomas with the Titanic putt, as we put, from Titanic Hoops. It just sort of sat there.
He walked away.
He looks away. He maybe fills out a scorecard, has a soda pop. I don't know what he was doing, ate a sandwich, and then the ball fell.
He walked away.
It was insane.
He walked away thinking that, I guess it would have been Matsuyama because it was his group. It was like, oh, well, he's going to shoot now. I'm going to shoot after this or something like that. And
all right, let's move to the Bills making moves. This was major news. Sammy Watkins traded before his 4th year in the league to L.A., the Rams, for E.J. Gaines. They also send a 6th-round pick. In return, they get a 2nd-round pick. But the Bills weren't done yet. Ronald Darby, their starting cornerback, their top corner, sent to Philadelphia for Jordan Matthews and a 3rd-round draft pick. Matt, the question is very simple this week. Where were you when the trade went down, and what was your reaction?
it was a couple hours before I had to go in for my shift. I thought it was going to be a pretty normal work shift over there at 13 WHAM TV in Rochester, New York. Power napping. Doing a little power nap. And then we had her on the show last week. Jenna Cockrell calls me up, and I was half awake for this entire conversation. I think the tally was at 8 for me asking her either, wait. Sammy Watkins isn't a Bill anymore? Or, wait. Is this really happening? Am I awake? Am I dreaming?
Right.
Something like that.
Right.
And then just kind of balls to the wall. Hey, I got to get into work. I'm going to Orchard Park, baby.
Yeah. Your reaction to it?
It was kind of like the first question I just mentioned. Like, wait.
Okay.
Sammy Watkins isn't a Bill anymore?
Yeah.
I know he isn't as productive as a lot of people thought, and some of that's on him, some of that's not on him in terms of injuries, but just hearing those words or seeing them printed, Sammy Watkins not being with the Bills anymore is crazy. Like, I've done 3 camps in a row now, and you're always waiting for when everybody's coming out. You're waiting for that, and the fans are as well. You're waiting for him to come out, maybe more so than anybody else. And then what he's doing in practice as well with his crazy catches. And he's just not there anymore.
The hype around Sammy was real. It was absolutely real. At the time, you got to go back to 2014. Ralph had passed. Okay, Sammy was the first draft pick post-Ralph. Sammy was the guy out of a wide receiver class that was deep and talented. You were going to get 5, 6, 7 guys in this draft class, including Jordan Matthews, that you thought, man, we got legitimate number 1 receivers. Legitimate. Mike Evans, Odell Beckham, Sammy Watkins. Big guys at the top of this draft class. Kelvin Benjamin, another one in this draft class. The hype around Sammy was real, that he was a step ahead everyone else. He was a tremendous route runner. He had unbelievable hands, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
He could work outside, the speed. The one thing I remember about Sammy, too, you saw him at first, he looks like an NFL player. Some of these guys, some of these corners, some of these wide receivers, they don't have the physical tools yet. They're big guys coming out of college, but they're not there yet. They've got to get into the NFL and kind of grow into their own. They've got to adjust to the speed. Sammy from day one had it. And by it, I mean everything. The hands, the speed, the talent, everything. I remember looking at his calves one day and just thinking, those are apples in there. He legitimately has like red delicious apples in the back of his legs. And he's as fast as you've ever seen. He was legitimate, but he was a comet. He was here one day and he was gone. And when I mean gone, I don't mean necessarily gone to LA. I mean gone because of injury. He was hurt one day, he was healthy the next, and we only got flashes of him.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, the second half of his season, the last 8, 9 games, you only saw flashes of it. But it was brilliance.
In terms of full seasons,
when he was there, he was as good as it got. Fox, friend of the show, Prescott Rossi, captured this tremendous one-handed catch of his. Like
his
I think
first camp,
it was like first or second day at camp.
Oh, it might have been
It
right
was
off the bat.
very early on in camp. Just grabbed this thing out of the air, and you thought, my God.
Well, and that just was the hype train right off the bat.
What a weapon for the Bills. That's what I kept thinking. What a weapon. But unfortunately, his time in Buffalo going to be thought of as unfulfilled. And I think that's the word around it, unfulfilled. And it's because of injuries. It was the phrase China doll started to get thrown around with Sammy. And I don't know if it's fair necessarily, but it was a reality.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you can't change the facts of it. Absolute reality.
The latest was this broken foot that he dealt with. And could you make an argument that it was mismanaged? Sure. You could make an argument that the Bills mismanaged Sammy. You absolutely could. Part of it may be on Sammy and wanting to come back and prove himself and all this stuff. It's a toxic situation. We don't know what happened behind closed doors. We don't know whether they pushed him, whether he pushed. We'll never know. But I think you could argue that they maybe mismanaged him by even wanting him to come back through this foot injury, knowing that other players of his caliber had gone through the same thing, and right now we're all being pointed in the direction of Julio Jones, who suffered similar foot problems early on in his career, was able to overcome them, and obviously do what Julio Jones has done now in becoming a top 3 receiver in the league.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could argue top 3. He's definitely a top 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely a top 5. So you look at that and you go, oh. You look at the contract situation, and it's a new regime. And this is a Doug Whaley pick. This is I remember at the time, Russ Brandon marched out and addressed the media and said, we needed to be bold, and we made a bold move. And I thought, yeah, this is bold. You're mortgaging 2 first-round draft picks on 1 player. So he has to be worthy of 2 guys. He's got to be worthy of almost 3 guys because they sent a 4th-round draft pick as well. And a 4th-round draft pick isn't guaranteed to make the roster, but there's talent in the 4th round. Dak Prescott was a 4th-round draft pick.
I think it was LaMarcus Joyner who ended up getting picked with that, ironically, with Rams connections.
Yeah. Ironically enough. Well, actually, was that trade? He was a 2nd-round pick.
Almost, at least he
in that
ended
draft
up,
class.
Yeah.
He was in that draft class.
I definitely remember on a little Hard Knocks action.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that – it's not hard to say the Bills did not get what they wanted out of him. I think it's hard for Bills fans to say they want Sammy to be successful in L.A. because they never got –
They didn't get that courtesy themselves.
Yeah, they didn't get what they expected to get out of Sammy Watkins, and that's unfortunate. Sammy looks happy as a clam to be in L.A.
Yeah.
I mean – it's Los Angeles. That's a big
town. It helps
town.
that he's got some familiar faces there with Nicole Roby-Coleman.
It does.
And Robert Woods in his
Yeah.
own position group.
It's a tough situation. Thoughts on Darby quickly as we've gone way late in this A block.
I personally think he was not the top cornerback. I know you said that a second ago. I think right off the bat, I know there's no real regular season games that happened, but it was Trey White.
Okay.
So I think he'd already slipped back to a certain degree with that.
Starting cornerback, though.
Oh, yeah. He has a lot of experience starting really
Yeah.
quick in his NFL career. So it's definitely not a good loss by any stretch of the imagination. I personally think he is better than E.J. Gaines.
Yeah.
So you throw that into it, just another, I guess, pseudo-negative thrown into all of this. But
they lose
what do you
out on
do?
the player talent in this. So we're going to talk with Andy Young about the trades a lot here. They lose out from a player perspective. Right, immediate talent-wise, it's a downgrade. But the key now becomes is that the Buffalo Bills have 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 2 third-round picks for 2018. They're locked and loaded.
Use them
to make some real moves in the 2018 draft class. 2017, to me, in essence, becomes a lame duck year because you move on from Darby and you move on from Watkins. But as we said, nobody sells hope like the Buffalo Bills. They're continuing with, hey, we're not giving up on this season. Of course you're not, because you have to go out there and play 18 games. But we know what this move means. It means that Tyrod is a lame duck quarterback. 2017 is a lame duck season, and you're positioning yourself to get one of those top QBs in 2018.
And that's the thing. You mentioned one of those quarterbacks. I definitely think they're going for him. Even if they do better than expected record-wise, a little bit further back in the first round, hey, they've got those 6 picks to deal with and just mortgage them to go up and up and up in that first round. They have that kind of backing.
A long A block will come to an end. Around the corner, more Buffalo Bills talk. We'll talk about the trades. What does it mean for the Buffalo Bills? Good friend of the show, Andy Young of Spectrum News, will join us to discuss the lot, everything about the Bills, Sammy, Darby, the trades, and whatnot, where he was, what his reaction is, next on To Be Determined.
You're you, I'm me. I hope you listened to the first block of our show because that's when the names got put out there. It's To Be Determined. We're back.
We'll give it for you one more time. At Sports by Bond with @Trabs Matt. We are pleased to welcome in new thoughts at Andy Young TV. So that kind of gives the name away. Andy Young of Spectrum News, former full-time sports guy, now really just a jack of all trades for Spectrum News.
What's up, fellas? Yeah, dabble in a little bit of everything, do a little bit of news, a little bit of sports. It's interesting, to say the least.
So when will you be doing weather then?
Tonight. Chance of rain. 100%.
Yes.
Excellent.
Up here.
I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Golly. Especially this summer. It's not too, you're not, you may not be wrong.
Hey, only job in America where you can be wrong 50% of the time.
Us sports guys, us sports guys aren't bitter at all, right?
Get up there and ad-lib for 3 minutes, you're good.
God, if only we could do that, right? Man,
Yeah.
that would be fun. All right, Andy actually was at the Bills. What was it? Facility, I guess? Or did they have this at the facility, this press conference?
This was
After,
at the facility.
Okay.
Not the state. Yeah.
It was. I get confused with the training camp schedule now because it's so much back and forth between Buffalo and Rochester. I can't keep track of it all. So Andy was at the press conference post Sammy and Ronald Darby trade. So we wanted to bring Andy on to talk a little bit about this. So first question, where were you and what was your immediate reaction when you heard about the trades?
So this goes back to the jack of all trades utility man thing. I was actually covering a news story on Friday. I was covering a health clinic getting some funding from a state senator to help battle the opioid crisis. Got done shooting that story. Got in the car, turned on the radio. WGR 550 was on. John Murphy's show was on. And I heard him say, Sammy Watkins has been traded to the Los Angeles Rams. And I thought he was joking. I really thought. I thought they were doing like War of the Worlds from like 1942. That this was an April Fool's joke, or they were doing their real news, fake news segment. And then my phone started just blowing up in my pocket, and I go, "Holy cow, this must be real!" So I opened my phone. It says they've traded Sammy Watkins and Ronald Darby, and I thought to myself, "Oh my goodness, business just picked up."
To say the least. What was your immediate reaction when you heard the news, especially of Sammy?
Yeah, absolutely stunned. I mean, I didn't know that they would trade him in any way, shape, or form. That guy is perhaps their most talented, athletic player that they have on the field, no doubt about that. A guy who, when healthy, and I know that's been the big problem and probably why he is no longer a Buffalo Bill, but when healthy, an absolute dynamic, explosive playmaker. We really saw what he and Tyrod could do a couple of years ago when he was healthy and tore it up the second half. He was maybe the best receiver in the NFL that last 9 games of the, I believe, 2015 season, and that was stellar there. But to see him go is absolutely stunning. But it's what Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane are trying to do and moving on to the future and building those assets, and I'm sure we'll get into a lot of that.
So just like draft grades, us in the sports world, we like to grade trades. And while this one, it'll take a little while to figure out those draft picks and whatnot, but in your mind, who won these 2 trades?
Well, if you're talking about this season in the short term, I don't think there's any question that those players that the Bills lost, the ones they got back in return, are not as good. Jordan Matthews is not as good as Sammy Watkins, although there's been some arguments about the stats. Sammy's played quite a bit fewer games than Jordan Matthews has. Different types of players. Matthews more of a slot receiver. Sammy is that explosive playmaker that you can put in a lot of different spots. EJ Gaines is not as good as Ronald Darby, I don't think, at least. I could be proven wrong this season. We could be proven wrong about Jordan Matthews too, especially if Watkins doesn't stay on the field. I think in the short term, the teams getting the Bills players and the Eagles and Rams won this season. Like you said, it's so hard to tell until we figure out what the Bills do in the 2018 draft, where it looks like they're really loading up and looking to the future and what those players turn out to be in a few years. If you're talking 2017, the Bills are losers in this trade, but it's a long-term process, and I think it's a sustained success, as McDermott and Beane like to say. We'll see if they have any of that success.
Yeah, they can say sustained success, and that's the idea. I mean, you'd rather have sustained success as opposed to 1 year in the playoffs and then done. But the question becomes, when you trade away your top wide receiver and you trade away your top cornerback, it sort of makes, and load up with draft picks, as you said, for that 2018 class. This sort of smells and looks and feels like a lame duck season. So is it a lame duck season?
I think it really is. And I think it might have been even with Sammy Watkins and Ronald Darby. I don't see that this team was going to be a playoff team. I think they were going to middle around 8-8. Maybe get to 9-7. If you're lucky, get to 10-6. If you have some breaks go your way and you sneak into the playoffs. But my opinion of this team was it was probably going to be about what it's been for the last 3 or 4 years, which is around a 500 team. So with Sammy Watkins, with Ronald Darby, with Jordan Matthews, with EJ Gaines, I don't think there's a huge market difference in what the results will be on the field this season. So yeah, it probably is a little bit of a lame duck season, but I think Beane and McDermott can afford to have that because they're in their first year. If there was a time to kind of revamp and overhaul the roster, this is it, because the pressure's not on them right now. They've got the trust of Terry Pagula, and they can do what they want right now. He loves what Sean McDermott did, and obviously that's pervaded into what the Sabres have done too, and the kind of structure of the organization they want to have as far as people and the way they want to build things and do it through the draft and do it the right way. So I think they've got some time to do that. I don't think there's any pressure on them to get to the playoffs in 2017. We know about that 17-year playoff drought, and I think they do too. They'd love to end it. Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane would love to sneak into the playoffs this season with the roster they have and then still have 6 picks in the first 3 rounds next year to load up and get a quarterback. Or if Tyrod all of a sudden becomes a Pro Bowler and a star, he's been a Pro Bowler before, but becomes an absolute star and they want to re-sign him, they could do that too. But yeah, I think this is more of a season where it's kind of a let's put our stamp, our McDermott Beane stamp on the type of roster we want to build and look to the future.
Yeah. So by all earlier counts, it seems like the Bills loading up to draft one of these stud QBs in next year's class. Is there anything Tyrod Taylor can do to stick around beyond this year?
Look, I don't know what they do. If he somehow leads this team to the playoffs, get rid of that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
like,
a fair
I don't
point.
know. I mean, the Bills have done stranger things before. They had Doug Flutie lead them to the playoffs and then put in Rod Johnson for the playoff game. So you never know with the Bills. I've learned that over my years as a fan and now as a member of the media that you just never know with this team, especially over the last about 20 years. It's kind of crazy. But sure, Tyrod I like as a player. I think he's been probably the best quarterback they've had since Jim Kelly. You can make some, cases for at times Drew Bledsoe, at times Fitz, at times Flutie or Rob Johnson played okay. But Tyrod's done pretty well. But to me, he's a middle-of-the-road NFL starting quarterback. He's okay, and he can win him some games. He's not the kind of guy that puts him over the top. Now, if he has a great step forward, and I thought he had a chance to do that with a healthy Sammy Watkins this year, that would change plans for next year. But my idea is they're probably going to cut ties and jettison Tyrod Taylor after the season, but you never know.
Yeah, crazier things have happened, and crazier things have happened with the Bills in particular, as you say.
Absolutely.
Speaking of crazy things, the Bills have been notorious for poor draft picks. Matt and I, before the show, went back and looked from 2012 to 2015, how many players are actually still on the roster. There's only 6, and a couple of those guys are practice squad players at best. So really, you're utilizing about 4 players. If fans had to pull one positive from these trades, it's that this group, this new regime, is stockpiling picks. How close is this roster right now as it stands to being a playoff team?
I think they're an 8-8 middle-of-the-road team, as I said. If you catch the right breaks and you somehow have an easy schedule, it could possibly be a playoff team, but my mind sneaks more towards it's about a 7-9, 8-8 team, which usually isn't going to cut it for the playoffs unless you're, in the NFC West a few years ago when 7-9 got in, and that was but you're playing in the Patriots division, so that's not going to happen for the Bills. But, they've got talented pieces. I think there's some parts there. They're trying to bring in some younger guys. I still think LaShawn McCoy is at the top of his game. Even as he approaches 30, he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. He hasn't really been hurt too much, especially last year. He was fine. He missed a game, but that happens with running backs. So they've got some pieces there. They've got an O-line that's a little bit older, but still in the prime of their careers. They've got some young pieces on defense. So it's really about getting that quarterback. Getting that figured out. If they get that thing figured out, whether that's Tyrod or more likely somebody that's a young quarterback that can, in a couple of years, take that next step and get them to the next level, I think that's when you're going to see that market jump. When you get Zay Jones and whichever quarterback they wind up taking in 20, seems like they will, but who knows if they actually will do that or can do that if that guy's available. But I think, they're still a couple years away from being that real solid playoff team, especially now, given the way they've overhauled the roster a little bit. The back 2/3 of that roster, completely different from last season.
Yeah.
A lot of ways. Now, a lot of these guys are depth players, but a lot of these guys are going to have impacts on the field this season that are just different players completely than we saw under Rex Ryan and Doug Whaley.
So all of these moves certainly have an eye to the future. Nobody sells hope like those Buffalo Bills. So how do the Bills sell fans on this season, 2017?
It's a hard sell, and Sean McDermott even said that. He goes, how do I sell this to the fans? How do I sell this to my locker room, even to my veteran players? Guys like Kyle Williams, who came back because they liked what Sean McDermott had to say about the future and trying to continue to win this season, that it wasn't a complete overhaul and it wasn't a complete rebuild. I don't think it's been a complete rebuild. It's not a tank because they did bring players back, but hope springs eternal for Bills fans. They always think that there's that chance they can sneak in. And I think the fact that they're loading up and doing things in a little bit of a different way than other regimes have done naturally lends itself to having more hope for the future. It might not be this season, like you said, and I don't know how you sell that move in 2017. Jordan Matthews is a serviceable NFL wide receiver. EJ Gaines, yes, he started games in the NFL, but I don't think that makes you better this season. I think they're selling fans on the fact that McDermott and Bean have a vision, a plan. Terry Pegula has signed off on that plan, and he's going to let them execute that plan. That's the hope they're selling at this point, that these guys know what they're doing, that they're a different breed than what the past regimes have been for the Buffalo Bills, and that maybe, you know what, it's not going to be 2017 that ends the playoff streak, but they've got the plan in place to have that quote-unquote sustained success that you win today and win tomorrow. I think it's a little bit of more win tomorrow at this point for the Bills.
And you know what? I get fans' frustration after 17 years, but in order to make sure it's not 20, you have to look past 17. You have to look past making this 18 years of a playoff drought. That's how it stinks, but you can win one now and then be awful for the next 15, 20 years, or you can do what these guys are doing and trying to build over the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And I hate to say it, but kind of like the Patriots do. I mean, what is Bill Belichick notorious for? Stockpiling these picks.
Right.
He rarely signs these big-time free agents. Now, this offseason was the exception to that rule. What was that, Andy?
They're trying to build a super team now in New England. I mean,
yeah.
With what they did, and now they add, Gilmore and Gillislee and Cooks and all those guys. I mean, that's a ridiculous squad there. But he had the ammo to do those things because he stockpiled those picks.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. You look at the current makeup of the Bills roster. I think that window for them to make the playoffs as it was currently constructed was last year, the year before, when you had Darius, Williams, all those guys in their prime. The defense was supposed to be good. You had some up-and-comers on offense. The offensive line was good, and they didn't get the job done. So I think that window is starting to slip away, which is why you see Bean and McDermott kind of loading up for the future, because they know that Kyle Williams isn't going to last all that much longer. Yeah. Who knows if they want to pay Eric Wood as he gets 30-plus big-time center money. There's a lot of guys. Who knows what's going to happen with Shady? Is he going to have that precipitous running back fallout that we've seen so many times? And I think that's why they didn't want to pay Sammy Watkins. So I think they know that the future is the brighter spot than the present, and I think that's just exactly how they're approaching it.
So Sammy Watkins, what is his legacy in a Bills uniform?
Man, I loved him as a player. I was at that draft where they drafted it and moved up and jumped up to number 4 with the Browns, and I was all for that move. We did a little, podcast, so to speak, before that draft, and I remember saying, let's go get Sammy Watkins. He's so dynamic. You watched what he did against Ohio State that year, and he tore those guys up. He was just such a tremendous talent. And then he got here, and I think, unfortunately for him, his legacy is going to be that Bills fans are going to say, great talent, couldn't stay on the field. In a lot of ways, good riddance just because of that.
Yeah.
Bills fans don't love guys who can't be on the field, be playing, be accountable, be accessible, be available. And I think that's going to be his legacy. My gosh, is he talented. Some of those plays he made down the field, scoring against the Jets, just a great player. Even catches we saw during training camp were just ridiculous. And he's one of the most talented players I've ever seen line up for the Buffalo Bills. However, he only did it not as often as he could have been.
Yeah. He is to me, it's just conundrum. That's what you get with Sammy. And forever, and it's unfortunate for him, but Bills fans, no matter what he does in L.A., will always compare him to Odell. And what Odell has done with do you call Eli Manning a Hall of Fame quarterback? The guy's got 2 Super Bowl rings, so it appears that he's probably headed to Canton.
He probably is going to go that way.
So what he's done with a Pro Bowl quarterback and what Sammy Watkins has done with E.J. Manuel, Kyle Orton, Thad Lewis, Jeff Toole, the guys that he had throwing him the football. Tyrod's probably the best of the bunch, as you mentioned. It's insane. Sammy can only do so much to me. That's what I always hated the comparison to Odell. Maybe it's just me, but I always hated the comparison to Odell because you have this guy who's a Hall of Fame quarterback in Eli chucking the ball to him and being able to run an offense, and you got guys for the Bills that can't even break a huddle.
I think part of it, too, is the fact that they traded up to get him.
Yeah.
And they could have had Odell Beckham. If that hadn't happened and they landed Sammy Watkins straight up somehow, or they landed another player, they landed Mike Evans or whoever it was in the draft, the comparisons wouldn't be so bad, and the issues over injuries and not being on the field, I think people wouldn't understand that quite as much. You look at like Julio Jones and Des Bryant. That's my only fear for Bills fans is this guy going to come back from those 2 foot surgeries like those guys did? The exact same injury, similar stats. I mean, you guys have probably seen the stats where they put next to Julio Jones, and it looks incredibly similar. Same injury, and is he going to go to LA and tear it up with Jared Goff? I don't know. I don't think Jared Goff's all that, but it could happen. But I don't think you can look at it that way. The Bills, they're building something different now at this point. You've got to trust in McDermott and Dean, because what else are you going to do at this point?
That's a good point.
So getting away from the Bills and the NFL a little bit here, we have the final 5 questions. First off, what's your alma mater?
Bowling Green State University and Frewsburg Central School.
Very nice.
Wow, all right. Right off the
Go
top.
high school, too.
Yeah.
I think
trouble.
I think
like
he's the first to go high school, actually.
That's beautiful.
I don't think we've ever had a high school before. All right, Andy Young of Spectrum News, jack of all trades, does news, does sports, soon to be doing weather, too, I have a feeling. What is your secret talent?
Okay, so I've got a couple of talents. I memorized every country in the world and can place it on a map. I haven't done it in a few years.
Wow.
But I did do that, yeah. So I'm kind of a crazy geography and history freak. So, so I did that a few years ago when I was working in Ohio. Stayed up all night, memorized every country in the world, and put it on a map. So that was kind of fun.
Wow. That is not.
If you call, I'm weird.
I was going to say, we got to get you a hobby, but apparently this is it.
That is not a talent that we share.
And another weird talent that I could tell you guys don't have that same talent. I can stick my entire fist in my mouth. It's gross, and I don't know if you want to see it or not.
I do.
Dude, you are way too intrigued by that.
I just no hesitation.
It really was. It really wasn't there.
All right.
If you want to see it, I'll do it. Here we go.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, my God. And there it is.
Oh, my gosh.
My goodness.
You are a legend.
That might be the most amazing moment we've ever had on the show.
That was amazing. Amazing.
I had to look at the monitor. I'm not even looking at Andy at the camera anymore. I had to look to the big monitor.
Oh, yeah, you got to see it on a bigger screen.
Block, boys.
Oh, my God. Legendary.
All right, number 3. What's your best Halloween costume?
I've had a couple good ones. A couple of years ago, I dressed up as a housewife and wore a long muumuu dress. I looked like that chick from the Drew Carey show. It was pretty.
I absolutely know. I don't know her name, but I absolutely know who you're talking about.
Yes.
On my Facebook, you'll see pictures.
Oh my God, that's spectacular. That is good. That's really good.
I was pretending to be a baker, like a housewife, and my wife dressed up as a cupcake. She looked cute. I looked absolutely disgusting, but it was a good time.
All right, Andy, favorite beer?
I've got a few of them. I'm from Jamestown. I grew up there, so I'm tied down to Southern Tier. I love a lot of Southern Tier brewery beers. I love their Cherry Goza, Tangier, Unearthly, just any IPA from Southern Tier. And, if I'm just hanging out, I like a nice light beer. Blue Light, Mick Ultra, whatever. I'm down for that. In college, I kind of lived off Keystone and Natty. And
as one does.
Slammed 30 packs as often as I could, which is why I weigh the amount of weight I do now. So I'm kind of all over the place, but if I had to pick one to just chill, it's like a Southern Tier thing. If I'm slugging beers on the golf course or playing softball, I'll go with any kind of light beer.
Rounding out the final 5, where can we find you on the internet?
I am all over the internet at TV. You're going to see me giving out some takes on sports. I still try to dabble with that. You see me out at news stories, do a lot of different cool stuff. So on Twitter at Andy Young TV. I've got a Facebook page if you want to search for me there too.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Andy Young of Spectrum News. We appreciate the time and the insight, sir.
Thanks, boys. Hope I didn't gross you out too much.
I was going to say, and the secret talent as well.
Never. You will never gross me out.
Thanks, buddy.
See you, fellas.
See.
All right, bump music in. Around the corner, we're heading to our golf expert, Marty Nowicki, the owner of the Impact Snap and a PGA professional. We're going to talk a little bit about the 99th PGA Championship. That's next. To be determined. Stay with us.
If you listen very closely, you can see Stephen Bond rocking his Sunday Reds, We're back here. C block to be determined.
At Sports by Bond with that Travs. Matt, pleased to be joined, and I always miss Marty's Twitter handle. I know it's at Impact Snap is the real one, right? That's the company one.
Yeah, that's the company one, and it's at Marts 524. MARTS 524.
One of these days, Marty, I swear I'm going to write this down. I am like the worst at this. I always remember as soon as we hit record that I did not get the Twitter handle.
Could be a good time to write it down right now.
Yeah, it's very true.
Pencil in hand, here we go. All right, we're talking. Golly, I'm telling you, it's just bad producing on my part. I feel like I get everything ready just for that. And then, hey, it happens to the best of us. All right, we're talking 99th PGA Championship. Justin Thomas just winning literally minutes ago. Your winner started the day in the hunt. Wasn't at the top of the leaderboard, but started in the hunt. Marty, how is this guy able to work his way to the top of the leaderboard today?
Well, obviously Justin's a great player. He's won a couple times already this year. He bombs the balls, which is right up his alley at this golf course. He set a record at the U.S. Open, lowest round, I believe, in major championship history up until the British Open. I mean,
no kidding.
What did he shoot at the U.S. Open? I thought he shot 63, which tied for the lowest round in major championship history at the British Open. So Justin has been around and playing really good golf. And, one of his better friends on tour is Jordan Spieth. And he grew up with Jordan playing junior golf. So he's seen Jordan's success, and it's only fitting that Justin followed suit by winning a major. So I think Justin has been at that level for a while. I don't know if it took him to watch Jordan win a third major before he was like, all right, I know I can beat this guy, so he must be able to beat the rest of the field. And I'm happy, honestly, as a PGA member, not a lot of people know Justin Thomas's father and grandfather are PGA members. So they are, lifelong golf professionals. So it's a happy day for me to see Justin Thomas as the son of a PGA member win a major championship. I thought it was just a great day. And nothing for nothing, I was rooting for a couple other guys in the field. But it's a hard golf course.
Yeah.
It's one of the longest courses in major history. And, a couple guys played really well and a few guys were just a little short. So, it is what it is. But Justin Thomas is very well a deserving champion.
So Justin's best finish at a major prior to today, the U.S. Open you were mentioning a second ago, but he's coming off an Open Championship, didn't make the cut. Could anyone see this coming, what he did today?
Well, I think so, only because the tour plays at this golf course somewhat regularly, like every year. They happen to play that tournament. It used to be the Wachovia. I'm not positive what it's called now, but they played it at a different golf course this summer. But these guys have seen the golf course a couple times for the other tournament, but seeing it in major championship condition is a little bit different. Ricky Fowler, who I think has won the other tournament once or twice, had a good finish for a major, but a major is a major. And, the greens are a little firmer, they're a little faster, the golf course played a little bit longer. And Justin, as he's not a very big guy, he's like, 5'8" or 9", 155 pounds, but he hammers the ball, absolutely smashes it. So, and a lot of people predicted that the longer hitters would do well at this golf course. And, it came down, Kisner is a great player, and Kisner's been sniffing it for a few different tournaments now. But I think it was just Justin Thomas's time.
Yeah, he played well. As you mentioned, the greens, the putting, everything a little different for that major championship. And that was kind of the major theme at Quail Hollow this week. And it was thanks to the change of the course a little bit. We saw so many big-time guys struggling with the putters. I can't tell you. I lost count eventually. I started watching briefly on Thursday and Friday. I got into it a little more this weekend. there were so many different times where guys had birdie putts that they missed and it had to settle for par. I mean, how much tougher were the greens this week at Quail Hollow?
Well, they have that system underneath their greens that allows them to suck the moisture out of the greens.
No kidding.
Which, yeah. And there are a few golf courses around the country that have installed that system, Augusta National being one. So even if it rained 10 inches, they would suck all the water out of the greens to make them firm, for the next day. But so the golf course had the capability of setting up very difficult. The rain did not help the fairways because balls were not rolling out in the fairways. So the course was playing very long, and you were hitting it at very firm greens, which is probably, I think if you ask the tour in general, what are the toughest conditions to play in? Balls plugging in the fairway and balls not being receptive on the greens, that's probably the toughest conditions you can play in, especially, firm, fast greens. So you would have expected one of the longer hitters to do well here. And Justin Thomas, remember, he won back in Hawaii, first tournament of the year. There were 4 drives over 400 yards, and Justin had 2 of them. So the kid can bomb it, and he's a great player, and I think it was his time. It was his time, and I think he was thinking that way because of his friend Jordan and the success that he's had. So,
in your opinion, what was the craziest moment of this weekend?
Well, there were a few, and I hate to say that I was working a lot on Thursday and Friday, so I did not see all of the coverage. On Saturday, I did work some. A lot of people were talking about what happened with Jason Day and, in the last hole yesterday. And I get that. Look, Jason Day was out there to win. And, when you're out there to win, sometimes you don't think as rationally as you could. But that one shot, even if Jason pulled it off, I don't know if he would have been able to keep it up at 8 under par where Justin Thomas was. So, I think Justin just played really good golf. Was there one moment that stuck out? Probably right before the tournament when the PGA announced that they're going to go to May in 2019. I think it was 2019, which I'm pretty sure is Oak Hill in Rochester. Yeah. So I think that's exciting. I'm not positive on who's hosting it in 19, but I think that's very exciting from the standpoint that the entire tour schedule is going to change. It will go from the Masters to the PGA to the U.S. Open to the British Open in 4 consecutive months. I think it's good for golf as a whole. Me being a PGA member, for us to showcase an event in May and all the promotional stuff that goes along with it. When you think about when does our golf season up here in New York start, it starts in May. So I think it's kind of cool that the PGA is going to be on the, front of the stage in May at the beginning of our golf season rather than at the tail end in August. And what I've heard is that it really works out well for the rest of the tour when it comes to the end of the tour season and the beginning of the football season. So, it seems to have been a win-win-win for a lot of different parties.
Yeah.
So
this PGA Championship is such a fun event, and this was such a good golf course. I mean, you saw what it did to the big names. So this was a fun tournament to watch. It wasn't like we're out there with a 23 under par. The fact that you're going to compete now, the fact that you're not now going to compete against training camps and preseason football, the move just made too much sense to get to May.
And I'm happy to hear that from you guys, being sports guys, rather than just I'm a golf guy. So but I think from a sports in general standpoint, it made a lot of sense for a lot of different parties. So I thought that was a good move for everybody.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, kind of going away from Justin Thomas, going to his friend now, how disappointing was Jordan Spieth's week considering he was poised to capture that career Grand Slam?
Well, look, there are only 5 guys in history that have captured the career Grand Slam. So, Jordan's 24 years old, I think.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of more opportunities. Now, granted, the PGA is that elusive one. Snead never won it. A couple other guys have never won it. So, but, Jordan's got game to win anywhere. And it's hard to follow a major win with another major win. So, he's got game. He's going to do just fine. And, I think he's the youngest ever to hold 3 major titles.
Yes. Yep. That's
so
correct.
if I'm not mistaken, he even beat Tiger's record and Jack's record. So, look, he's got plenty of time. I'm sure Jordan was a little disappointed with how he did this week. But, look, Jordan's a great player. He knows how to recover from that. So,
yeah. All right. So we've got 4 majors in the books now. Of your 2017 majors, which was your favorite?
That's a great question.
We're full of them here.
No, only because normally sometimes we actually get the questions in advance, but I didn't get them today. I'll tell you what. Sergio was such a great win.
Yeah.
Overdue. He's such a great player for a long period of time. And I think if you threw in today, Justin, what a great story. A great kid. Bombs the ball. Son of a PGA member. Fitting that he wins the PGA Championship. So, which one was better? I don't know. I'm a Sergio fan, but I'm also a Justin Thomas fan.
Yeah.
So, we have a little bit of tie, just with Brooks Koepka when he won the U.S. Open. One of the guys that helps me build the Impact Snap is good friends with Brooks's parents.
No kidding.
And, so he's been down to Augusta to watch Brooks the last few years.
Huh.
So, was it great to see Brooks win the U.S. Open? Absolutely, because I've never met Brooks, but one of our guys, John McCadden at Impact Snap, is good friends with Brooks's parents and has met, Brooks on a number of occasions. So it's fun. It was just a great year of golf.
Yeah.
We have four different major champions. The British Open, Jordan winning that was remarkable.
Yeah.
I thought that was just great sportsmanship. So I think it was, can I give you an answer on which one was the best? No, but they were all great moments because all of them did something different for the game. The sportsmanship at the British Open between Jordan and Matt Kuchar, and they're both just super individuals, and Justin Thomas fits right into that. So I think it was just a great year for golf in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, to me, it was down to Jordan and who else was I going to say? Oh, Sergio at the Masters. Those were my two.
Yeah.
And though, that was kind of a toss-up, but you talked me into Brooks because we got a connection there.
Yeah.
And Justin Thomas today this was a fun tournament. So really, the winner out of it, yes, is probably the sport of golf, to be honest with you, because it was such a good year. So, all right, Marty, you transitioned us right into the Impact Snap. Tell us a little bit about the company for those that aren't familiar with it by now, and just give us a quick update.
Well, the company's doing great. We are a golf training aid company. We train people how to release the wrists and arms properly through impact. We have a promotion going on right now through Revolution Golf, which we're very excited about. And Revolution Golf, literally, as we were penning the agreement, Revolution Golf was purchased by the Golf Channel.
No kidding.
So I think it's going to lead to some bigger relationships and bigger exposure for Impact Snap. It's a great training device, 2-time Golf Digest Training Aid of the Year. If you use it and use it the right way, your golf game's going to get better. It's that simple, which is fun. You can see it at impactsnap.com. But enough of the infomercial and back to the golf. It's all about people playing better golf.
Yeah.
And, what we saw this week and at the British and at the U.S. Open and at the Masters was just fun golf. And, if the average person can play a little bit better, they're going to play more golf. And right now as an industry, I think we're kind of bouncing back and we're in a pretty good state because we got a lot of younger guys winning and doing well. And obviously Sergio not being a younger guy, but I think a lot of people deep down were rooting for Sergio to win the Masters. And I think it was just a great year of golf, especially with the announcements, and starting in 19 with the PGA being in May. We're going into a FedEx Cup that is going to be unbelievable. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I think it's going to be a great, great fall finish.
Yeah.
The owner of the Impact Snap, at Impact Snap, at Marts524. Wrote it down.
You got
it. Marty Nowicki, PGA Professional, Turning Stone Resort and Casino, the owner of the Impact Snap. Marty, we appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks. Great to be with you.
All right, bump music in around the corner. The highly anticipated series, if I may, of Where Are They Now, the 90s version with at Ashleigh Carter. Matt Trabb's excited for this one as well. That's around the corner. Stay with us on TBD.
Where are they now? Well, I know where we are. It's right here. We're back here in To Be Determined. It's the D Block. Boom.
So creative. At Trabb's Mats. At Scooty Minx. All the above. Boom. At Sports by Bonds. We welcome in our female correspondent. I'm going to not be as awkward this time when I intro Carter this week because last time I was very awkward and got fined for it.
Yep.
That's just you.
The female species and some hand gestures.
Some really awkward hand motions.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a disaster. Carter,
she has different parts than us.
Yes. Ashleigh Carter, one at Ashleigh Carter. I refer to as Carter. It's no disrespect. It's just having worked with her for 3 years.
Yeah.
She calls me Bond, so it is.
You're Bond.
It's a term of endearment. How are you tonight, Carter?
I'm good. Honestly, Carter is a strong last name. I don't want to change it ever.
It's the last name of a president.
It sure is.
Bond has yet to become a president, and I will not make it that way. I guarantee you.
Little brother, it's on him.
I don't know. Anything's possible.
It could be
Anything's possible.
The little brother has a far better chance than I do.
I agree.
Straight A kid. He's probably going to get a 1600 in his SATs, for God's sakes.
Right? Put it all on the younger side.
Well, because the other one went so much better.
You are a lost cause.
Yeah, apparently. Based on this podcast, every time it gets to the D block with Carter, I am, but that's all right.
Yeah.
I spill all my horrific stories about how awkward I am trying to pick up chicks, and it's never good. It's never good.
I love it.
It's entertaining, at the very least.
It is.
I live to please, all right? I live to entertain. All right, so last week we brought Carter on to discuss Where Are They Now, stars of the 80s. This week, the highly anticipated, shall I say, ever since we came up with this concept, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago, whatever it was?
Yeah.
The 90s was like the first thing we jumped at, and for good reason. We got 2 90s babies on the show. So,
because Carter and I aren't old. So,
no,
90s is the wheelhouse. It's the dub house. Deal with it, okay?
We still have time to fail, Bond.
Okay, thank you. Golly. So last week we did a snake draft. I had to lead it off because I'm the elder statesman. This week we're going to let the female lead it off. So Carter, round 1, first pick. Who are you taking off the board first?
All right, so I'm starting it out with one of my favorites, Alicia Silverstone. And a lot of people, I think, know her as much as I know her. In Clueless, she played Cher Horowitz. Yep. Every girl wanted to be her. She was beautiful. I'm pretty sure she was every guy's crush. Just this blonde, amazing beauty.
Yeah.
So she did Clueless. She also did this really creepy movie called The Crush, where she played like this stalker teenage girl who falls in love with her dad's like tenant. What? And it's really insane. Yeah, she like gets so creepy. She breaks her own arm and makes it seem like it's him. And yeah, it's crazy. So she made a lot of money back in the 90s. But so now she hasn't really been in anything. And when I looked it up, she's now like this super crazy vegan activist. Like she's part of PETA, and yeah. And she has like her own website and her own brand and everything, but no more acting really. And also, side note, she was in Crying, like Aerosmith's music video with Steven Tyler's daughter, which I thought was kind of weird because it's kind of a sexy music video and like that's your daughter.
Yeah, that's creepy. That's creepy. All right, I'm going with my first pick, and this is a personal one. Get ready at Travs Matt. Danielle Fishel, Boy Meets World, Topanga.
Oh, swoon.
Golly, had to go strong with the first pick.
Right off the block.
Listen, I went strong out of the gate with pick number 1 last time with David Hasselhoff. So
yeah,
I like to be a strong first round pick. Best known for Topanga Lawrence.
Absolutely.
Incredible
She's
hair,
gorgeous looking,
luxurious.
If I can. Reporter now for Pop Sugar, whatever the heck that is.
I feel like is that
really?
I don't even know what that is, but
I think Yahoo bought them. Is that a Yahoo thing?
I thought it was a YouTube thing, or I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not entirely sure.
They're like a BuzzFeed kind of platform.
Okay,
that's
all right.
kind of what they are.
See, leave it up to Carter. Leave it up to female correspondent to know.
Rounding out the first
all
round.
that crap.
Oh yeah. Hey, you know what's up? Round out the first round. I'm gonna go Keenan Mitchell. The other half of Keenan and Kel.
Yeah.
Kel, obviously.
Wow.
Kel Thompson, Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
So, both on that show on Nickelodeon.
Good pick there.
Good Burger. You just said good. Good Burger as well.
Yeah.
Probably his biggest movie. So, that's what we did in the past. And for right now, Rob Dyrdek has a Nickelodeon show, and he is voicing one of the Wild Grinders. That's the show.
Kidding.
So, he's back on Nickelodeon right now.
That's a good pick, Matt.
Wild Grinders.
Real good pick. All right,
Go back to where you started, you know?
Yeah.
Right?
Very good.
Back to where the only place you had success was.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, you get the first pick of the second round.
All right. I am going to go with a name a lot of people might not know, but Mike Vitar. It's Vitar.
Okay.
Whatever it is. He's Benny the Jet from Sandlot.
Ah, yes.
And Luis Mendoza from the Muddy Ducks. Strong skater.
Wow.
That's a strong pick.
He's a strong skater in that.
Well, not so much stopper, but yeah.
Yes.
He stuck with a theme with his acting.
He
clearly.
did.
Yes.
PF Flyers.
Oh, yeah.
Luis Mendoza.
Very speed-based
yes.
in his acting. Well, the last time he acted was 1997 on a show called Chicago Hope.
Okay.
But it should have been Chicago Fire because he is now, and for a long time now, been a part of the LAFD, the fire department there
kidding.
in Los Angeles.
Look at this
Look at
research he's
Look at
doing
this.
here.
Mike Vitar or Vitor or
whatever it is.
It's something like that. Mike V.
You think
All right,
you
there
think
we
they
go.
have a poster of him as Benny the Jet in the fire hall?
In the charity calendar every year, he's like one of his characters
just posed just 20 years later. All right, second round, second pick. A guy that was, I think, epitomized the 90s. In White Men Can't Jump, in Blade, in U.S. Marshals, and my personal favorite from the 90s, Demolition Man.
Ooh.
Wesley Snipes.
Nice.
Wow.
Best known recently for tax evasion, I think.
Is that a movie, television show?
No, for actual tax evasion.
Oh.
A movie or literal tax evasion?
This I had here has notorious tax problems, mainly not paying them.
Wow.
He is set to
I get
act
it.
in The Recall, which should be filming, I believe, this year. I don't know what The Recall is, but he's got some work to hopefully pay down some of those tax problems. So
You did type in notorious. That was
Yes.
mean. That's a mean adjective.
Well,
Chris.
it's
But if it's
pretty well
accurate.
documented.
Yeah,
Pretty
if
well
it's
documented. All right, Carter, you round out the second round and begin us with the third round.
All right, so I'm gonna do the only dude that I chose. for
Okay.
this
Well,
list,
hey now,
which is
this
whatever.
is a PG podcast,
Oh,
Carter.
sorry. Excuse me. I'm gonna go with Freddie Prinze Jr.
That's a classic
He-
90s.
Yeah, he was such a hard in the 90s. He was in She's All That. He was in a ton of romantic comedies. But he was also in I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh.
Great thriller. Super cheesy. I feel like, I loved that movie, to be honest. It was the worst. But anywho, he married Sarah Michelle Gellar, another notable 90s actress.
Yes,
They're
very true.
still married today.
No kidding.
And now, they're still married. And now he seems to be doing a lot of like side characters for cartoons. Like he was in Disney has a different channel just for their cartoons, and there was a Star Wars show that he voices on. So.
No kidding. All right.
I feel like I heard that
what
was
he's
big.
currently doing.
Yeah.
And probably a house dad, which isn't a bad gig.
He still has a perfect jawline, and it's just still
that's aggravating.
Beautiful.
Dimples to boot.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if it's dimples.
Like men get better with age, and I hate it. It's just true. That's just how it is.
I can't wait for that.
It really is. You guys just get like salt and pepper, and you just get like more worldly,
more distinguished.
It's ridiculous.
Wise.
I'm still working on trying to grow a full beard, so I'm hopeful that happens. Then the distinguished part.
You're 40. Fine. You're 40.
He's like, what, 38? How old are you?
Okay, you know what? Let's relax with 38 talk, all right? I barely look like I'm
40.
28.
Were you in college in the 90s?
All right, you know what? I'm telling you, this whole segment is just beat up on Bond. That's what it is. All right, Carter, let's get the first pick of the third round going here.
Okay, so my next one is Julia Stiles. And I love her solely because one of my favorite 90s movies is 10 Things I Hate About You. Heath Ledger, that other guy.
That other guy.
Whose name I forget. He was in Don John, and then he was in the most recent
Joseph
Dark
Gordon-Levitt?
Knight. Yes.
Ah, nice.
Joe Golet?
Joe Golet. It's a great movie. She's a sassy teenager, but anyway, she hasn't really done anything. She did a lot of rom-coms, and then she was gone for a while, and now apparently she does some show called Riviera, which I've never heard of.
Nope.
I don't even...
Nothing.
No, I have no idea.
Very nice.
Honestly, when you said that, I thought you were talking about Julia Childs at first.
Yes.
I'm like the old cook lady. I was like, and then you started saying movies. I'm like, oh, yes, this is a different person.
Wow. Yes.
Very nice. All right, second pick, third round. Second pick, third round. Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Oh.
Best known for Home Improvement in the 90s. He was Randy Taylor. Carter's never heard of the guy, which I am...
Tool time.
Golly. In recent years, I don't believe he's been acting, not since 2015, but he did go to Harvard and Columbia during the 2000s sometime. Not sure exactly when. So he's a bit of a scholar now. So
Very
that's
nice.
what we got from JTT. He was really the first, female heartthrob before all these other younger guys, whoever the heck they are now.
Wow.
Yeah. Early 90s heartthrob.
All right, you know what?
You're really breaking it down, Steve.
Yeah, when you were born, Carter. God.
That's it. That's all I did.
All right, Matt, you round out the third round and kick us off for the fourth and final round.
I'm going child star as well.
Okay.
Going Sixth Sense. Haley Joel Osment?
Oh,
or Osment.
Osment.
Is it a silent T? Doesn't really matter.
Oh, all right.
So, I mean, like I said, Sixth Sense he was known for.
Yeah.
Was doing recently, he is really kind of souping up his acting career again. He was in the Entourage movie, was like the villain.
Yes.
Sorry if you haven't seen it yet. And
Spoiler
Silicon Valley.
alert.
Silicon Valley, big-time HBO comedy this past season.
Really?
Keenan Feldspar, what a name. He was that big-time role. He's making a comeback.
Nice.
Making a comeback.
Yeah.
Don't call it a comeback.
He's been here for years.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him in a while.
You haven't seen him.
Yeah.
He's been
in the
on slightly
background.
smaller screens.
Yeah.
All right.
He was the cutest kid ever, but also really creepy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Well, geez, you put him in Sixth Sense right off the bat.
I know.
That's a creepy movie.
It was.
All right, buddy.
All right. Also child stars. Macaulay Culkin, the big name.
Good one.
The
Good
big
one.
So he was in just about everything, but obviously known as most for Kevin Malone?
McAllister.
Kevin McAllister.
Sure, there you go.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. I've seen the movies.
And Richie Rich. Wasn't that a 90s movie?
Yeah, so
Okay.
Home Alone series, Richie Rich, absolutely. So, I wrote down a bunch of acronyms here. I don't know. Oh, yes. So right now, he's on a show I love on TV Land, The Jim Gaffigan Show, and he basically shows up in every episode as himself, as a ridiculous cameo, usually being a DJ or something. It's absolutely ridiculous. And he's doing an upcoming movie with Seth Green.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yes.
How did Macaulay Culkin fall to the fourth round?
Those two names.
Because he's a steal.
I mean, that is a steal in the fourth round. That should have been a second-round draft choice.
It's because I think he's going to play in with one of your picks coming up here, so I was waiting for you to say it first.
Yeah,
and then kind of slide in.
Well, I mean, I'm following you. I got the second pick
Kevin Malone.
in the fourth round. I'm going Joe Pesci.
Oh.
And the reason is, I just want to list the movies that he did in the 90s. Home Alone series, as you mentioned, Matt. Goodfellas, Casino,
Yes.
and JFK.
Question.
He lived in the 90s, man.
Was My Cousin Vinny in the 90s too? Because I love My Cousin Vinny.
Yes, My Cousin Vinny was also in the 90s.
It seemed old school like that.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't put it on there because I've only
'Cause
seen
you're
it one
hurtful?
time.
Because you're hurtful.
Well,
And it had Karate Kid in there.
he was not in Karate Kid.
No. Ralph Macchio was
Oh,
in
okay.
Cousin Vinny.
All right.
That's such a
Yes,
90s film.
Yeah. That is a 90s film. That's true. That is.
Goodfellas.
He
amazing
allegedly
movie.
retired. Great movie. He allegedly retired in 1999, though he acted several times since then. He takes several years off between films. He's set to act in The Irishman in 2018. So, all right, Carter, you round out.
How do you?
What's that?
Well, just side note. How do you retire from acting?
I don't
and then
know.
You're just like still acting.
I don't know. It's a good question. That's a good question. The
Like
articles that I
I
read.
retired as a reporter, but I still do news. They just throw me on.
I think that's technically me, actually.
Yeah, that's you. Actually,
He's a silly goose.
right. You're living it.
Joe Pesci, the silly goose. I'm not going to tell him the silly goose, though. Someone else can do
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it either. Are you kidding me? All right, Carter, where are they now? Stars of the 90s, the last pick in the 4th round.
All right, I'm going big in the 4th round. Okay,
out
so
all the
I'm
stops.
going. Yeah, I'm going with the Spice Girls.
Whoa!
And I know it's not a whole thing, but like, or one person. There's a collective effort.
You're going with
but
the
whatever.
group. That's all right.
Spice Girls. Yeah. Spice Girls, obviously, they were at the height of those groups, boy bands, girl groups, like they were it. So basically, they actually reunited in 2012 for the London Olympics.
Of course
and I
they
think
did.
they did a little performance. Honestly, I think it was like 5 minutes. Couldn't remember it, and I would remember that because I watched Spice World, the VHS tape, nightly when I was younger. Like I watched it every single day. So it's ridiculous. Anywho,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
no, you're good. So first one, Scary Spice, Mel B. A lot of people see her now. She's on the X Factor.
Yep.
She's a judge.
Yep.
She's beautiful. She looks incredible. Like I hate her. And also I saw today she's going through a lawsuit currently because she fired her nanny, but her nanny is now suing her, saying that she made her have intimate relations with her and her husband.
Wow.
And filmed them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Mel B's
Hey,
crazy.
swingers swing.
Yeah. So she's a little bit of hot water for that.
I guess so.
Yeah. So next one, my favorite Spice Girl, obviously Ginger Spice.
Yeah.
Jerry.
I wonder why.
She was the first one to leave the group. She had a good solo career afterwards. She didn't really do much. Now she's kind of just a mom doing her thing. Her daughter's name is Bluebell, which is weird and dangerously close to another term that we won't mention.
Oh my god.
All right. Next one I think was a lot of people's favorite, Baby Spice, Emma.
Yeah.
She did some solo stuff. A lot of it was in the UK. She was popular. Now she's a radio host in London.
Ah,
Very
okay.
nice.
And just kidding. Mel C, Sporty Spice. She went solo. She had a lot of success in the UK. She's still kind of doing singing here and there, but not really anything. And last but not least is, of course, Posh Spice, Victoria Beckham. Ooh. She's obviously wildly successful with her fashion line, and she's married to David Beckham and has 100 children.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. She's just 4. So, yeah.
That's less.
Woo!
It's slightly less. All right, very nice. Quickly, any notables that we missed?
Huh.
The only one I could think of, and this is selfishly when you said Mighty Ducks, was Emilio Estevez. Or Charlie Sheen, for that matter. Charlie Sheen might have...
He's tricky, though, because he
was 80s and 90s,
he stayed relevant.
I feel like. He stayed relevant for a long time.
And then 2.5.
I mean, 2.5 Men.
It's true, and then
2
the
ampersand and a half
2000s.
men.
So,
he was the highest paid TV actor at one
that's
point.
true. That's true.
So
all right, so more Emilio
right.
than
Yeah.
Charlie
Estevez.
Who else?
What was the main guy in Goodfellas? What the heck's his name? He's on a show now.
De Niro?
No. What the heck's his name? Now I'm drawing a blank.
Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta.
Yes,
yes.
Ray Liotta.
The Ray Liotta show.
I had such a crush on him. Goodfellas, Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
I was down.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But now he's on Shades of Blue with J-Lo.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And he was on an episode of Modern Family.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. All right, Ashleigh Carter, our female correspondent. Where are they now? 90 stars.
Yeah.
Kudos to you two. This was fun. This was
Yeah.
I enjoyed the 90s. I enjoyed the 90s.
Nation.
All right, Carter,
Yeah.
thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, fun segment with @Ashleigh Carter. Forgot to give out her Twitter handle at the end, so want to make sure we get that. Give her a follow on Twitter. Want to thank one Ms. Ashleigh Carter.
ASHWEE Carter. I'm not spelling that for you. You should know Carter.
Traditional spelling there. Our thanks to the female correspondent, Ashleigh Carter, for jumping on with us. Going to do the 2000s next week, so should be fun. This has been a fun little experiment.
The 00 apostrophe S's.
That's right. The aughts, if you will.
Yes.
There we go. All right, our thanks to new FOTS Andy Young at Andy Young TV of Spectrum News.
And that voice, baby.
Really, yeah. Oh, so
sultry.
So buttery.
Buttery.
So smooth. And quite the secret talent on that man, by the way.
I loved it.
Okay. Our thanks to our golf guru at Marts524, Marty Nowicki, at Impact Snap. He is the owner of that great device. Check out that stuff on the interwebs. Who else do we got to thank?
We got to thank our producers.
Okay, yes. Our thanks to senior producer Mitch Beluco. Our thanks to executive producer at Sports by Mom. My thanks to you, Matt, for showing up.
My thanks to you for you.
Just being me, I guess, right?
No, just you.
Make sure you check out tobedeterminedshow.com. All the social media links are there. Give us a follow, a like, the whole 9 yards.
Do the dang thing.
Check out archived episodes. Download and subscribe to To Be Determined Show, or To Be Determined, I think it is, on iTunes and Google Play.
Don't check out our archived episodes because that's not a thing.
That's not a thing. Let's see. Check out the post-game press conference every Wednesday on YouTube and the website, tobedeterminedshow.com.
Yeah.
Make sure you check out the Friday show when it occurs. It's not an every Friday thing, but a Friday when we can sync up.
When we
can
can sketch up, baby.
That's why it's important to subscribe, because when you subscribe, it'll automatically pop up when you get into your podcast app. So do that. Hope we figured out something on the 24th installment of TBD. Later, boys.
And girls.